G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. So today I'm going to be going over my tips for round 3 of the 2024 AFL season. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you're going to enjoy today's video. And let's kick it off with my tips from last week. Okay, my tips from round 2. Pretty disappointing in the end. I got a 5 out of 8. Probably around the average point I'd say, top 43%. But what's most annoying is that in last week's tipping video, I talked so much about St Kilda's strengths to beat Collingwood and Geelong's strengths to beat Adelaide. But in the end, I don't tip them. I go with Collingwood because of the bounce back factor and Adelaide because of their home field advantage, and I get them both wrong. So a bit annoying there. For the Saturday tips, got Fremantle right. I saw people tip North Melbourne, but I just can't trust them with their defence at the moment with tipping. Melbourne over Hawthorn, just a better side on paper. The Dons gave the Swans a real good push in the first half, but their forward half class and just their ball movement were too good for the Dons, the Swannies. Sunday games, went with Gold Coast here, but the Bulldogs tools really got to work and they got a huge win down there in Ballarat. Port Adelaide cruised home in that fourth term against Richmond, got that tip right, and a pretty easy one with the Giants over, again, a disappointing West Coast Eagles outfit. Quick look now at my Royals Macca tipping competition leaderboard update. Feel free to join if you haven't already. First link down below in the description. We've got a number of people here getting every single tip correct. 𝐷𝐶𝐞 𝐬𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐼, 𝐿𝐼𝐶𝐞, 𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐴𝐵𝐿𝐼, and the Black Flash getting all their tips correct. Fair play to you lot. Very, very difficult to get all those 8 tips right considering the amount of upsets there were. And as for who is leading my tipping competition at the moment, I tell you what, Graz is on fire, not only with the tips, but also fantasy and Supercoach. He was leading both of my leagues last week too, so he's on fire early on with the tips. So now let's get into my tips for round 3. We kick off with a grand final rematch, Brisbane versus Collingwood at the Gabba. Brisbane coming off the bye, and Collingwood, if they drop this, they move to 0-4. Still feels weird that not one of these teams have picked up a win yet in 2024. Now granted, both teams have played pretty difficult opponents, but these were the top 2 teams coming into 2024. So yeah, it is quite unusual, but Brisbane at home, we all know off the bat, they play their best football. Last week, or should I say the week before at Optus, they just got absolutely shell-shocked in their midfield. The absence of 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼 really showed because their midfield was just getting destroyed. Defensively, they were just torn apart as well. And just, that's the thing with Brisbane. When the momentum's out of their favour, they are an easy team to punish, I think. And they have difficulties on being able to swing momentum their way. And that's what we saw against Fremantle. Whilst for the Collingwood Football Club, they are of course having their own issues as well, being 0-3 and just completely losing their ticker. I think a big part on how they were able to win the flag last year was just their mental and physical toughness on being able to win contests, win those 50-50s, have that sort of swarm style on outnumbering people, outnumbering the opposition at ground level and get it forward. But it's just not working. I feel like that sort of 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼 game plan has been exposed a little bit. Look at the Saints and the Swans and also the Giants. They were able to kill them off turnover with forward half pressure and also just controlling the football really well in between the arcs. That's where Brisbane's got to really beat them. I think they were one of the top turnover sides from last year, and especially at home of the Gabba, Brisbane moved the football so well. I am still expecting a bounce back from Collingwood. When you just look at them at a whole, and Pie supporters will tell you, they just look really flat. They pretty much are really soft around the football as well. So will they turn up for this game? Because I keep on going with the bounce back factor. I think they will, but I'm going to be going Brisbane with this tip. Look at their first half against the Blues in opening round. That's some of their best football, and I think they get back to some of their best footy because they play tremendous at home, and they just decide, I think, coming off the bye, a bit more rejuvenated. So we'll go with the Lions here to knock off the Pies. Could be a bit of a close one, but I expect Brisbane to, with their classiness, to get home here and send the Pies packing home with an 0-4 record. So Brisbane get the job done here by 17 points. So now for the Good Friday clashes. First game up, we've got North Melbourne against the Blues at Marvel Stadium, 4:20 p.m. 99% tipping the Blues right off the bat here. They are coming off the bye, so they're going to be pretty fresh heading into this game. Harry Mackay, Curnow in some fantastic form. They're going to be licking their lips with ease with North Melbourne's defence. There's a good and there's a bad with North at the moment. Their first half was sensational against Fremantle. I was almost in visible shock on how they were moving the football. It was amazing amazing stuff. Their D50 transition was remarkable. They were getting it forward through 𝐼𝐻𝐿, through Fisher, and just, yeah, through the guts. The high hand pass, the high meta hand passes throughout midfield, it was great to watch, but their issues lie a lot more than the good at the moment. They are defensively way too easy to score against, and there's also issues on being able to play 4 consistent quarters. So I think against Carlton, who are looking like one of the top teams this year, they're going to be a chock full of confidence for this game, you'd think, as well, with just how strong they are in the stoppage. And from their first 2 games, their turnover game is looking pretty schmick as well. Yeah, they should play their first game at Marvel for the season and knock off North Melbourne here with a pretty convincing margin, you do think. So North could start off the game well with the strengths of North Ball, but their defence is just an issue for me. So I think the Blues get a good convincing win here on Good Friday and win this one well by 35 points. Next game up, we've got the Dockers hosting the Crows at Optus Stadium. How about the Dockers kicking off their season 2-0? Again, it was another issue playing North Melbourne, just like the week before. They started off with a very, very mediocre first half. They were just nowhere near it. They were just getting killed in transition. They were down by over 4 goals, but just like the Lions game, they were somehow able to turn things around. They got on top of the midfield, but especially just their ability to control the game was very good. They had a lot of uncontested marks and were picking apart their targets much better inside 50. So now facing an Adelaide side, which will certainly be a much tougher test, especially around the coalface. I know that Adelaide were disappointing on Saturday, or should I say Friday, against the Cats, but they still won the midfield battle. They still won the inside 50 count in the end, but their biggest issue was just their conversion inside 50. Every single time you'd see Dawson, you'd see Luke Pedler, you'd see Keys just whack it long inside 50, and it'll just result in a turnovers, as well as their inexperienced defence. That's also an issue, I think, over the Crows, especially from what I did witness against Geelong. So when I look at both of these sides, I think Fremantle could still be a bit of a beatable side, given they start games off slow. So if Adelaide can be quick out of the blocks and somehow maintain the lead, I think they're a good chance to maybe get the upset here. But then when you look deeply into Adelaide's problems, probably just the midfield mix of just the one-pacedness of Crouch and also Laird and even Dawson a little bit. They're sort of out of form and going inside 50, very disappointing and poor stuff. I think Fremantle are just playing with a bit more synergy, especially in their back half, and also in the midfield, they're really getting it done. So also it's at home, so I'll back in Fremantle here, but I think Adelaide will play much better. So I'm sensing a bit of an upset, but I think the Dockers will be too strong and punish Adelaide's mistakes. So we'll go the Dockers to win this one by 16 points. For the Saturday games now, we've got with the first one here, Essendon hosting the Saints at Marvel Stadium. Well, the Dons have been the big talking points out of the media from the latest round, with just the Essendon edge they wanted to apply against the Swans, and you could see it on the field for sure, not only with the fights, but just I felt their midfield work was very good. They were showing really good toughness around the footy, and I felt the overall effort against the Swans was very, very good. Pretty respectable, also considering the outs they did have with no Ridley, no Reid, no Parrish. I think that loss signifies where Essendon is probably at the moment. They probably just lack a bit of polish, but I think they can really serve it up to some good quality teams. And that's certainly what you have to call St Kilda at the moment, with getting a really good quality win over Collingwood. I thought their defensive work was top notch last week, and just their really good composure and methodically working their way up the ground with just uncontested marking and picking apart their targets in transition. They did it a lot slower compared to the Swans the week before, and they were also able to really do well around the footy. We saw Steele get back to his best. He had a great game. Marcus Winhager was sensational at the coalface. So this is where Essendon could try and get on top again, try and beat St Kilda at stoppage in clearance. A few of their players in their forward 50 are also in a bit of form too. Jake Gresham, I think, kicked 2 goals last week, same with Langford. Jake Stringer's kicked over 5 goals in his first 2 games, so they do have the players, I think, to get it done in the forward 50, but the big out is definitely going to be Peter Wright, though. Obviously going to be suspended after his late bump on Cunningham. As for the Saints, they are going to be without Liam Henry, who I thought was their unsung hero in their win against the Pies. He was so deadly at ground level, and that's somewhere where I really like the Saints, just their ability to move the footy arc to arc, and whenever it went inside 50, it felt like something was going to happen, something was going to result in a goal. And just looking at Essendon's weaknesses, their defensive, 50 work is really dire at the moment. I think they're ranked last for giving up scores per inside 50 entry. And look what St Kilda were able to do against Collingwood with a pretty mediocre defence, or a defence out of form. So because of that, I think the Saints get up here. I'm just really liking how they're going at the moment with just moving the football, their forward half work. Max King's been in great form. They've been very good in the air too. So the Saints should get the job done here. Could be a cagey game though. I think Essendon could really get on top around the footy, but the Saints to beat them in the end with just the ball movement. So yeah, St Kilda will get the win here. Back and forth game, I think, but the Saints will flex their muscles and get the job done and win by 15 points. Next up, we've got a huge Saturday night clash between Port Adelaide and the D's at Adelaide Oval. Last time these two sides played at this venue, it's where Zach Butters showed to the competition that he has arrived as an elite midfielder. He went off in this game in a very close win for the Power. So I'm thinking right off the top here, expect this game to be close. Port Adelaide, always a hard team to beat at home. And as for the D's, they are looking really sharp now. After their loss against the Swans, they've been able to fix up a lot better with their inside 50 delivery, and their defence in midfield is looking pretty strong. They're top 4 currently as a defensive group when conceding inside 50s. Are of course a very hard team to score against. It's going to be a bit of a struggle though, especially without Stephen May going down with a broken rib. So someone like a Marty Hall or Tomlinson would need to really fill in the void for this game. When looking at the strengths of Port Adelaide, they're sort of a hard team probably to gauge at the moment from what we've seen so far from them, given they have played West Coast and Richmond at the MCG. So they haven't really versed the greatest quality opponents, but where they've been very good is their field kicking and their ability to move the footy, especially inside 50. It's really what broke the game open in that 4th term against the Tigers. So in the end, I think this game will really come down to efficiency. Both sides have been really good as of late with going inside their forward 50 in terms of efficiency. So it's really a flip of the coin. The safe option definitely is Port Adelaide, given it is at home, but can Melbourne pick up a win here? Certainly not out of the realm of possibility. I think they are playing some really good football at the moment. So for me, I think I might tip them, but if only it wasn't for Stephen May going out. I just think he's a significant importance for holding down their backline. So Port Adelaide, they've got dangerous targets in their forward 50 at the moment. So especially at home, they're going to get a big crowd behind them. I think the Power will get up for this one. But this one, really going to go either way. I'm expecting it to be close, but the pair to get on top and knock off the D's at home. So we'll go Port Adelaide to win a classic by 7 points. Sunday games now. First one up, we've got the Bulldogs hosting the West Coast Eagles at Marvel Stadium. Well, we all know last time this game did occur late in the season last year, the Eagles somehow managed to pick up the massive upset win over the Doggies, but it's going to be hard to see them manufacture a similar result in their favour as for the Bulldogs. Looking like they're now starting to really pick up on their form. They were disappointing against the Demons back in round 1, of course, but they really flexed their muscles against Gold Coast last week. Their clearance game and their midfield work really got on top again. Just their overall strengths of what we know about the Bulldogs. Clearance and stoppage work, and also just their forward half prowess and high octane forward line of course, 𝐻𝐿𝐴 kicked 4 goals in the first term, and I tell you what, 𝘼𝐻𝐿𝐴 was sensational in the air, especially against the likes of Ballard and Collins, who've had pretty decent starts to the season. I think they had the most amount of intercept marks in quite some time. I remember when watching the game, Liam Jones was awesome down back. So yeah, they're in really good form at the moment, the Doggies. They should continue and carry this one over against a pretty disappointing looking West Coast Eagles side at the moment. They could give the Doggies a bit of trouble early on, but at the moment they are having massive issues to put points on the board. So the Doggies will be too good for the Eagles on Sunday afternoon and win this one well to get up the ladder a wee bit and win by 42 points. Next Sunday game, we have the Tigers host the Swannies at the MCG. The Swans a very good chance to go 4-0 and finish off the round at the top of the table, given the Giants do have the bye. And I can tell you what, it's definitely not going to be an easy fixture from a Swans point of view. Richmond, I thought their effort and their competitiveness last week against Port Adelaide was fantastic. They really did bring it up to the pair for 3 quarters. Where they've been really good, Richmond, from what I have watched them from the past 2 weeks, is their contested work in their midfield is really starting to get going now. I think 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴 is a high influence on being able to adopt a bit more of a tougher style around the footy, given he did come from Melbourne, as well as play with more confidence, especially when moving the football. 𝐻𝐡𝐴 in the midfield is in really good form at the moment, and I felt he was one of the best players on ground when he did play the Swannies at this venue last year, so he could be a bit of a headache for the Swans midfielders. Yeah, their midfield, the Swannies last week, was pretty concerning against Essendon. They got well beaten in stoppage and clearance, and that's somewhere where Richmond could really capitalise on this game. So if they can bring tremendous amount of intensity, same as what Essendon were able to do, get on top of the stoppage and clearance game and really shut down the Swannies' ball movement. We all know they have tremendous interceptors, especially like Nick Vlosten's been in great form. Hey, I'll tell you what, I don't think Richmond's getting much love here. I reckon they could really win this game. But again, I like to be as optimistic as I am pessimistic about my Sydney Swans. I think, if we don't get on top of the midfield, I think we could generally lose this game. I think we're due for a bad performance, but there's just too much classiness, I think, with our ball movement, and I think our players overall are in good form. The Dons gave the Swans a really good test, but I think the Swannies just mentally, they're looking really tough at the moment. They've been able to withstand pressure like the Demons and the Dons were able to throw at them and just keep those sides at bay. So I think the Swannies will do a similar tale to Richmond. The Tigers maybe get on top for a quarter or two, but the Swannies just a cruise home because, yeah, their ball movement, I think overall their defence is looking really good too, and they're dangerous, really dangerous in their forward 50 at the moment. So the Swans, I'll tip them just because they're in too good form, but I do respect the Tigers here to maybe get up, but the Swannies will get it done in the end. So the Swans to win. Bit of a cagey affair, but they'll run away with it and win by 18 points. And for the final game of the round, we do have the Easter Monday Classic between Hawthorn and Geelong at the MCG, 3:20 p.m. And yeah, I can tell you what, the Cats are looking like a bit of a smoky team at the moment to really cause some damage early on in the season. Because I tell you what, defensively they are looking in really good shape. Not only is Tom Stewart taking intercept marking records and being best on ground, but just I think their overall structure when defending the Cats is very good. We saw last week and even the week before against the Saints, when oppositions come out of their back half, they just set up really well behind the footy and force turnovers, especially in their forward half. Forward half turnovers and defending well or setting well up behind the football was their strengths in 2022 when they did win the flag. So I think we're seeing similar tales here with the Cats potentially. The midfield is a little bit of a concern, but also considering Hawthorn's midfield is really out of whack at the moment, I think, those sort of weaknesses probably do nullify a little bit. I think Dangerfield is going to be out for this game, so it's the likes of 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴. He's been really disappointing the past 2 weeks to really try and stand up and get on top and try and win the midfield battle. Both ends of the grounds at the moment is a concern for Hawthorn. Defensively, they've been easy to score against, and just their cohesion going inside 50 has been very disappointing. Their conversion's been terrible. They only put up 30 points against Melbourne, and Geelong are looking like a really strong defensive group. Yes, their midfield is an issue, but again, as I said in last week's tipping video, the forward half class, such unselfish in terms of a forward line. They never want to be selfish. They always want to pick apart targets nicely inside 50. Such an even spread of contributors, and also players like Grind Mines who can work hard at the ground and also cause an impact inside 50. They're in good form, the Cats. Given this is, an Easter Monday clash, maybe Hawthorn do lift here and make this one a close one, but the Cats for me will be too good for the Hawks. There's just too many weaknesses over there for the Hawthorn Football Club to tip them. So the Cats to win well, I reckon, and win this by 29 points. So everyone, there are my tips for round 3 of the 2024 AFL season. Feel free to let me know what your tips are down below in the comments. I felt like I didn't really tip many upsets. I still think maybe an Adelaide or a Melbourne could get up. So we'll see how we go this week. Hopefully I do have a better week. Cheers for watching, everybody. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did go on to enjoy. And until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.